Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is a very weird angle I'm filming from, but basically today we are doing my July to December book haul. Whoops. I usually do them quarterly, but you know, I wasn't filming, so now I have 6 months worth of books to do. And I usually film on my bed if I want my the natural lighting from my window. But I was like organizing them by month, and yeah, my bed's kind of overtaken and I was too lazy to rearrange them. Like I could definitely rearrange them to fit, but I don't want to. I'm too lazy for that. So we're on the floor. We're at some kind of weird angle. We're gonna ignore it though. So I suppose we'll just dive right in. Will I actually know the synopsis for any of these books? It's a good question. Okay, so this is the July stack, I think. Yes, this is the July stack. So this is The Bitter Twins by Jen Williams. This is the second book in the Winnowing Flame trilogy, and I read this for the Backlist Book Club. So actually all of these were in the same order, all 4 of these, because I think it was Book Depository and they were doing like their 10% off, and I was like, I need this for the book club, and then these other ones I just wanted. So I've already read this book. I gave it 4 stars. I cannot really explain this series very well because it is so damn complicated. So basically we follow, I would say, mainly 3 characters, and then in this one we kind of get a 4th one that becomes more important. And they are all from different walks of life on this planet. So there are these creatures who are almost vampires, and they used to drink the sap from their tree god, and when these alien creatures would come and attack the planet, they would fight them back. And so like the people were all really grateful for this, obviously, like the normal humans. But then their tree, during the last reign, the 8th reign, their tree god like died, stopped producing sap, and so they started to age and get sick. And so they started to drink from humans instead. And so now the humans, not the biggest fans. The first book we follow them, and we think that the 9th reign might finally be coming. So, you know, second book, can't really tell you what this one specifically is about. But as I said, 4 stars, and for the Backlist Book Club. I'll talk about the next 2 together, and that's This Savage Song and Our Dark Duet. I already owned the UK paperbacks. I'm too lazy to go get them, but I think they're kind of ugly. I mean, they're not terrible, but like, these are so much nicer. These are also nicer than the previous US covers. Like, they're so pretty. I'd been eyeing them for a while. I can't remember why, because usually, okay, I've gotten very into buying multiple copies, which is very bad of me. I don't know, was I upset or something, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy these. So yeah, I did. So I have already read these books. I read them 2 years ago? No, it would be 3 years ago now, I think. Yeah, it would be 3 years ago now. So we follow August Flynn and Kate Harker, and they are the children of the 2 leaders of the different sides of this city. And it's called Verity. And Kate has basically been shuffled around from place to place so that she hasn't lived in the city, but she keeps getting herself expelled because she wants to go home. And she finally gets to go home, wants to kind of prove herself to her father that she is just as ruthless as him. And then on the other side we have August, and he is actually one of the monsters. I didn't really tell you that the monsters exist in this world, but they do. Basically monsters come from like monstrous acts. And August is one of these monsters, and he kind of just wants to prove himself to be extremely human. And so there's 2 very different sides there, but they end up having to come together and work together. And I love this a lot. I reread This Savage Song this year, and oh boy, emotion. I can't bring myself to read Our Dark Duet because it's gonna break me. I can't do it. And then the last one that I hauled in July was The Never Tilting World by Rinch Pecco. This was one that I actually read on audiobook. Well, I suppose it would be 2021 now. And I absolutely fell in love with this duology. It was a real surprise to me. Obviously I've been growing out of YA, but I really did. I just fell in love with it. It was just so much fun, and it was like exactly what I needed in the moment. And so I wanted to own them. Also, I think the covers are beautiful, so like I really wanted to own them. And so The Never Tilting World, I had the Evercruel Kindle from last year. I could never find this in the store, so when Book Depository were doing their 10% off, I was like, okay, I'll get it. Here's the August stack. Oh god, these are heavy. Alright, so we can talk about all of them. Well, we can talk about them in 2. Despite the fact there's 5, we can talk about them in 2 different groups. So first we have The Kane Chronicles by Rick Riordan. So we have The Red Pyramid, The The Serpent's Shadow, and The Throne of Fire. So they're all, I think that was the right order, but I could be wrong. And so those are the 3 books in the Kane Chronicles. And this is a series that I don't know much about, but I think it follows 2 siblings and I think Egyptian gods, basically. And these were a gift from Lizzie for my birthday. We have agreed that we will buddy read them. When we will buddy read them, that's a different question. I think we're both trying to get over our disappointment in Blood of Olympus, so it could be a while. I mean, Rick Riordan is a really quick read anyway, so maybe it'll be sooner than I think. So then the next 2 I can also talk about together. That is Chain of Gold and Chain of Iron. These are really heavy, and they're also really shiny. Okay, there's a whole situation about this. In July, I think it was, I was supposed to go to Cassandra Clare's tour, I guess, with one of my friends, who I actually met through basically the Shadowhunter books. And the first time we met, we only met for like 2 minutes, literally, was the last time Cassandra Clare came to Dublin, which was 2019? I got like a 3 book signed by her back then. And so I wasn't, obviously I've been growing out of Cassandra Clare, so I wasn't like super sure whether I was gonna go or anything, but basically she sent me a message and was like, you know, for old time's sake. And I was like, yes. And so I went, I got on the train to Dublin, and then she cancelled because her flight got cancelled. I was so mad. Yeah, obviously like these things happen, but it was the fact, I mean, people were traveling from all over Ireland, so most people had already left. And so I ended up going shopping for that whole day with my friend. So like it was fine. We had a good day. But it was very annoying because I had to pay for train tickets and stuff. I was like, so yeah. But basically when you booked the tickets, which was a whole other thing, they wouldn't let me buy tickets without buying the book. Which you were supposed to be able to, but they, for some reason, the website wouldn't let me. But I kind of wanted the book anyway, just because it's pretty. They were like, oh, sorry about having it cancelled. And so they basically gave us a link and gave us, I think, 10 or 15% off. And this one was only like £10, like for a hardback with this special edition dust jacket and with a signed book plate. Like, it, as I said, I think it was £10 for this one. The Chain of Iron was a bit more expensive, but like, that's a pretty good bargain. So I got it, and she is coming to Ireland again in February to make up for it, I guess, on the like Chain of Thorns, but is literally on a Tuesday night. And I'm like, I have college, I'm not doing that. So, but I did buy the book, so I'll have a matching edition. Though there's not really much special about this, like it is just the standard hardback underneath. And then it's just the dust jacket that's special. I think that's Lucy, and I think that's Jessie. Aren't is Cordelia and James, I think. And then I imagine it'll be Grace on the 3rd one. Is this the stack? Yeah, this is the stack for September. This I actually ordered when I ordered these 4. But this was a pre-order, so it only came in September, and it's the Savage Song again. Yes, I bought two different editions of this Savage Song in the same book depository order. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. So this is the, I don't know, is it like an anniversary edition? Like maybe it's a 5-year anniversary edition, I think. I'm not the biggest fan of this cover. I mean, I like it because I think it does definitely like, it kind of is a mix of like the US, the new US one with him like playing the violin, as well as like the original UK one with like the font. So I do like that it's like a mix of the two. I do like the spine as well. But what I really love about it is number 1, the edges. And then number 2 is underneath. Like, I feel like it doesn't, like this is a really dark red. Like it shows up way lighter on camera, but it's like a really deep red and it is so beautiful. And obviously violin. We have some end papers. And it's the same on both sides. Then I got 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. This one, I think I had money on a voucher, I think. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I got this because I had money on a voucher and I was trying to use it up. Like the next 4 I got on one day, and I just like used up the last of like my birthday voucher that I had. So I've actually recently talked about this in my surprising and disappointing reads. Take a guess which it was. It was a surprising read. I gave it 4 stars. It's a beautiful cover. I love the UK paperbacks. Like, obviously I think the hardbacks are pretty as well, but like just like the hint of like a darker color, I think it really makes it beautiful. This one follows Shiori. She is a princess, she's betrothed, she doesn't want to get married, and then she also has magic and she's starting to learn about this magic, and then one day she catches her stepmother also doing magic, which magic is forbidden. Bit of a double standard because she's like, oh my god, I can't believe you're doing magic. Well, she's also doing magic. And then her stepmother curses her and her brothers. So her brothers turn into 6 crimson cranes and she can't speak of it to anyone or else her brothers will die. And then I bought Exit Strategy by Martha Wells. I'm slowly going to collect these because obviously they're hardbacks and like they're also novellas. So like it's pretty expensive. So like I'm slowly going to collect them because I do want to own them because I read them twice last year. Twice! And so I'll probably also read them at some point this year. Like one day when I'm like starting to get in a slump, I think this series and also A Darker Shade of Magic are going to be my go-to get out of slump for free card. So yeah, this is the 4th book in the Murderbot Diary series. It was the only one in the bookshop, so I was like, I'll buy it. So yeah, Murderbot follows Murderbot. He has hacked his governor module, which means he is no longer under the control of the company. And so he has free will basically. Instead of like running or killing a lot of people or anything like that, he just kind of chills and complains a lot and watches poppers, which good for him. So yeah, I love it. I love the character of Murderbot. I do really recommend the audiobooks, but I do want to own them physically because it is one of my favorite series of all time. I also hauled The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This is a beautiful copy. Like, I love this edition, and it has a load of illustrations in it. And again, another book I've already read. I hadn't read it before this. I just read it a couple months ago, maybe November-ish. And I gave it 4 stars. I feel like I'm not smart enough to understand this book because like obviously like just as a story, it's a really good and interesting story and I loved it. But I'm like, I know that there's hidden meaning here, but I'm too stupid to work it out. Really bad with metaphors and symbolism and all of that, and like, and the next 2 I also bought on the same day. Actually, I think I have a vlog where I bought these, because I think I did a come book shopping with me video. So one of them is The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. This, again, is another backlist book club pick. We read this October? November? Who knows? I might have read it in November. I think it was supposed to be October. And I gave 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. What even is the synopsis of this? So there's magic. Once upon a time, there used to be these people called augurs. They could see the future and like read people's the kind of like emotions, telling if they were telling the truth or lying or whatever. They were kind of pretty powerful people, and then one day their visions kind of stopped working and basically they got overthrown, and the people under them were people called the Gifted, and the Gifted were able to control the essence. There were a load of new laws put in place which really restricted what the Gifted are able to do with their powers. Then at the start of this book we follow Davian, and he is supposed to undergo his trials to prove that he is capable basically, or else he would be turned into a shadow. Pretty early on in the book, someone comes to him and is like, you're not going to pass these trials, you need to get out. And so him and his best friend do, they leave. And then because maybe the boundary that is kind of keeping all of these monsters out is going to come tumbling down. And yeah, that was a really bad synopsis, I'm so sorry, but I enjoyed it. And then the last one was With My Eyeballs by Caitlin Doty. This was the last Caitlin Doty I needed to get. Again, another book where I do recommend the audiobook as well. It's a non-fiction. But it's basically her answering questions that have been asked to her by kids over the years. But like, it's not necessarily a kid's book. Like, yes, there are questions asked by kids, but like sometimes she goes into more details maybe than a kid needs. I forgot one more book actually that I bought the same day as I bought these 3, which was A Darker Shade of Magic. And you might be like, I'm pretty sure you already own that. You would be right, but I bought the UK paperback, but I don't have it with me. but I already own the US paperback, and I own the UK collector's edition of the hardback. And then I still don't have the Illuminate edition of this. And the thing is, because now everyone is selling them as a complete set, so I already own a Gathering of Shadows and a Conjuring of Light in the Illuminate editions, but people online, they are only selling like the first book along with the second two. I do not need 2 copies of the Illuminate edition of A Gathering of Shadows and a Conjuring of Light. So that's very annoying. Because I did actually see a set that was actually going like for a decent enough price compared to some people, like but I'm like, I do not need, I'll just be trying to sell them on, and like that's gonna be so annoying to do. So yeah, I've just accepted that I'm never gonna get the An Arcade of Magic Illuminate edition. Now we are on to October. And October we only have 2 books to talk about. I always buy books in like 2s or 3s. Like I never just buy 1 book, do I? I bought the 2 of these, and I've actually bought the 2 of them secondhand. First one is The Wolf of Oren-Yaro by K.S. Veloso. I'm going to be reading this soon, hopefully. I don't really know what this is about. Will I just read the back? I usually don't. Born under the crumbling towers of her kingdom, Queen Talion was the shining jewel and legacy of the bloody War of the Wolves, nearly tore her nation apart, but her arranged marriage to the son of a rival clan heralds peace. However, he suddenly disappears before their reign can begin, and the kingdom is fractured beyond repair. Years later, he sends a mysterious invitation to meet, and then an attempted assassination, and she's stranded in a land she doesn't know who to trust, and yeah, I'm intrigued to try it. The other book that I bought was Temeraire by Nia Novik, and I've read 3 books in this series now, and I really enjoy this series. All of them have been 4 stars so far, varying degrees of 4-starness, but I've been really enjoying this series. The pages are a little yellow, but like it doesn't bother me that much. So this follows Captain Will Lawrence, and he is the captain of this ship, and then it is set in the Napoleonic Wars. He gets in a fight with a French warship, and they end up winning this fight, and they decide to, you know, take what's on the ship for them, and they find a dragon's egg. Dragon eggs are extremely rare, and basically they're aviators who fight in the skies. Interesting alternate history, and basically the egg ends up hatching, and Will ends up, and basically Captain Lawrence ends up having to kind of give up his position on the sea to end up taking care of this dragon, which he names Temeraire. And yeah, I feel like there's not much plot, but it's just such a nice read. That is the only way I can describe it. We get like little bits of like how they're trying to stop Napoleon, but like overall the main plot is just him and the dragon, and you know, them bonding, as you do. Now on to November. This is so long. And again, another book I actually don't have with me right now. Basically basically when I was coming home for the Christmas holidays, I was like, okay, what books do I want to take home? And I basically took almost all of my books home except for like a handful, because I was like, oh, I might read this, I might read that. I'm like, how many books do I think I'm going to read? Like I brought home like 30 books, and I was like, Rebecca, what are you doing? This is one of the ones that I left up there because I was like, okay, I'm not going to read this anytime soon, I don't think. And that was The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. Do I really know what this book is about? No. Do I remember everyone talking about it like a couple of years ago? Yeah. So did I buy it when I saw it cheap? Yeah. I know that it is about a heist, I think, and criminals. Kind of morally grey. But I don't think it's like super dark. And I know this is one of those series that like, I think it's the final book people have been waiting on for a good while now. But as far as I know, there is progress actually being made on that book. So that's nice. Next 2 books, again, books that I've read. I'm on fire with having read so many of these books. The Girl from the Well by Rinch Pecco. I bought the 2 of them on the same day. The Sacrifice by Rinch Pecco as well. Obviously, I'm reading a lot of Rinch Pecco. But I went into Waterstones and I saw this. Like, I've never seen that out before. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's an old book from Rinch Pecco, right? And I was like, but I've never seen this edition. And I found out that basically this is a new cover. So we follow Okiko, and she is the girl from the well, and basically she is a ghost who hurts people who are trying to hurt children. Like, that's basically all it says on the back. But like, that is, I mean, it's part of the synopsis, but like, there's definitely more to it than that. They're like a set of cousins, and basically one of them is kind of being followed almost by this spirit, and basically she's really intrigued by this, and so she kind of ends up helping him get rid of the spirit. And I really hope that they do a matching cover for the sequel, otherwise I'll be upset. Then we have the sacrifice. Basically I was like, well while I'm at it, I might as well buy another Rinjago. And this is actually a pretty new release. I think it was only released last year. And it follows an island. It's a cursed island. The Filipino locals kind of refuse to go there because they know about the curse of it and how the kind of god that is sleeping in it is waiting for sacrifices so it can wake. And then, but there is one person who actually knows their way around the island, and so the Hollywood crew basically recruits them, and they basically spend a lot of their time being like, you should go, and they're like, no, we're gonna make this documentary. And they're like, okay, but I warned you. I really enjoyed both of these. I gave them both 4 stars. Now we're on to the big stack. We're gonna just move all of these. First 2 books that I got in December were Christmas presents. Basically all of these. Are all of these Christmas presents? Yeah, I didn't buy any of these for myself. And they were from the lovely Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy. And that was Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan and Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan. One of these might be the next book club pick. And I was like, okay. So she's pushing her agenda, which I respect. And number one, I think this is kind of 2 books in one. And I don't know which one is going to be chosen. I do think the synopsis of this intrigued me more. I don't know. So on the front of it says, the age of kings is dead and I have killed it. And so it's a bloody business overthrowing a king, but amid the chaos, a whispered rumour is spreading. A rumour of a broken promise, omens of death, and of the gods returning to walk the earth. Surely nobody really believes those old legends. Perhaps they should. Which is not a very detailed synopsis, but sometimes that's what you need. So that's Promise of Blood. Very intrigued about it. I am a little worried because there is like guns and stuff, which like sometimes I don't really like that in my fantasy. But we'll see. And then this one, they killed the king. Both of them are about killing kings. Cassidy obviously has a thing for regicide. They pinned it on 2 men, but they chose poorly. Royce Melbourne, a skilled thief, and his mercenary partner, Hadrian Blackwater, make a profitable living carrying out dangerous assignments for conspiring nobles, until they are hired to pilfer a famed sword. What appears to be just a simple job finds them framed for the murder of the king and trapped in a conspiracy that uncovers a plot far greater than the mere overthrow of a tiny kingdom. Can a self-serving thief and idealistic swordsman survive long enough to unravel an ancient mystery which has toppled kings and destroyed empires? And so begins a tale of treachery, adventure, sword fighting, and magic, myth, and legend. Again, another Christmas present, and this time it's from the wonderful Christy, from Christy Reads, and it's The Rebel Army, which is volume 3 of Shades of Magic. And this was the very last Schwab I needed to actually complete my collection. Like, obviously I'm going to continue buying more Schwab, like, editions, but, like, this was the last book that, like, V. Schwab has written that I do not own. And basically this, the comics of the Shades of Magic series are prequels. And so they follow, our main characters in the story, their father, kind of, like, the stuff he got up to when he was young. And yeah, I really enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it as much the first time, but I reread it this year, during Realmathon, because points. And also because I read the Dark Shade of Magic series, so I was like, might as well reread the comics while I'm at it. And I really enjoyed it more this time. I had more of an appreciation for it. So now we're going to get into the Christmas presents I got from my mother. We'll start with The Poison Song by Jen Williams, because I've already talked about the second book in this series, The Bitter Twins. This is the final book in the Winning Flame trilogy, and I give this a 3 stars, but I still overall recommend the series. And I just wanted to own this because I think the trilogy is really nice. And I overall really enjoy the series, so like I wanted to own the final book because I read the last one as an ebook actually. And the next ones, okay, I'll talk about these ones because I've also already talked about them. And that is Throne of Jade, Black Powder War, and Empire of Ivory, which is the second, third, and fourth book in the Temeraire series. And I've already read these two, and it has not been that long since Christmas. So I need to get the other like 5. Also, these ones are like way floppier than my edition of Temeraire, which is nice. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this series. And I do think they look nice. I do love the new US covers that make like an image. They're so beautiful. But number one, these match my other Novik books, and I think that they look nice together. And I do like the covers. So, and the next two I have already talked about. The first book in the series, An Echo of Things to Come, and The Light of All That Falls by James Islington. These are so big. These are so big. And like the writing is tiny. It is so small. See, I already mentioned about the Shadow of Lost. I mean, I gave a terrible synopsis. I did tell you about it. So, books 2 and 3, the Lycanius trilogy, I think it's called. Next one, we have Grey Warren by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the third final book in the Dreamers trilogy. I've actually already read it. I gave 3 stars. But when I tell you that is one of the most conflicted 3-star ratings I have ever given, I mean it. Some parts of this book were 5 stars, and some parts of this book were 2 stars. This is a spin-off series to the Raven Cycle, and we follow Ronan and his brothers, as well as an artist, forger, called Hennessy. There are people that are trying to track them down because they are dreamers, so they can take things out of their dreams. And that is a very small, basic synopsis of it. Next one is The Discord of Gods by Jen Lyons. I finally finished The Memory of Souls, and I gave that 5 stars. I loved it. So I gave Rune of Kings 5 stars, I gave The Name of All Things 4 stars, I gave The Memory of Souls 5 stars. So I want to read The House of Always as soon as possible. Like, I need to read it. And obviously, The Discord of Gods is the 5th and final book in the Curse of Dragon series. And so in this series, we follow Kieran, and we find out at the start of the book he is basically trapped in prison, and he has been told to tell his life story. And so he starts to tell his life story. He starts with him basically getting sold into slavery, and then the person who is with him goes, no, that's not where your story starts, and starts the story a bit earlier than that, when Kieran is a thief, and basically breaks into the wrong house and gets caught up by a demon, and ends up getting claimed as a lost son of this royal house. Everyone kind of wants a piece of Kieran because he might be destined to destroy the empire. One final book, my last book that I hauled in the year, and again this was a Christmas present, and this was a Christmas present from the wonderful Lizzie from Lizzie Reads, and it's Legends and Lattes. I have given this book to at least 2 people, maybe a 3rd person. It seems like a safe bet. It seems like a fun read, even if like you don't love it. So I've given this book, I gave it to Lizzie definitely for her birthday. I have not read it yet, and I do not own a copy yet. And so Lizzie was like, what does her note say? Yeah, so Lizzie basically sent it to me and was like, now you can buddy read it. And so thank you. It follows an orc, and she decides to hang up her sword, and she wants to serve coffee. So we follow all of the challenges of running a coffee shop. And so, as the cover says, high fantasy, low stakes, good company, which sounds fun. So, these are all of the books that I've hauled in the past 6 months. It's a lot. I didn't even count. 1, 2, 3. And then there was 2 that I also hauled that I didn't read. So I think 33, which is not that bad. Yeah, 33 isn't too bad for 6 months. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye!